Everyone's talking about ChatGPT, but most medical practices aren't actually using it in the way that saves them time or improves operations. Some think it's just for marketing. Others may worry it's not compliant. And a lot of doctors try it once and then don't use it again. In this video, I'm going to break down 4 practical, real-world ways you can use ChatGPT inside your practice for SOPs, emails, HR documents, and marketing without adding risk or complexity. These are the exact use cases that help practice owners reclaim their time and streamline how their practice actually runs. Now, before we jump into this, one quick thing I need you to understand about using ChatGPT is that you only get good outputs if you give it good context. So if you're asking generic questions, you're going to get generic answers. And that's usually why people think it doesn't work very well. You need to train your ChatGPT to think high level and understand your practice. This means telling it your specialty, telling it where you're located, how many patients you see each month, your team structure, and anything else that you think is relevant to how your practice runs. Once you give it that context, it's going to stop acting like a search engine and start acting like a strategic partner. And that's when you can start asking it specific practical questions like helping you create SOPs for your practice. So all that said, let's get into tip number 1. Use your ChatGPTs to create SOPs. This is so your practice can scale. One of the most practical ways to use ChatGPT is creating SOPs or standard operating processes. If your staff is constantly asking you the same questions over and over, or if everything starts to fall apart when you have one key employee leave or out for the day, that's a systems problem, not a people problem. So here's how to apply this. Start listing out things that your staff does every single day or week, then use ChatGPT to draft an SOP for things like front desk phone scripts, patient intakes and check-ins, turning over or cleaning your rooms, or how to handle a no-show or a late arrival. Once those SOPs are written, you can quickly turn them into a training document, simple checklists, or quick reference guides that your staff can actually use. And all these things can be done with ChatGPT. So why does this matter, you might be asking? Because it reduces your dependence on one rockstar employee. It's going to shorten your onboarding time, and it creates consistency across your team, and even across multiple locations if you have them. And this is going to be how you stop answering the same questions over and over and over. And you're going to start running a practice that doesn't rely on you for everything. Tip number 2 is how to use ChatGPT to respond to emails without losing your voice or your professionalism. And here's how this works in a real practice. You start by creating reusable email templates for situations like appointment confirmation, billing questions, patient complaints, and maybe referral coordination. Then you're going to train ChatGPT on your tone, professionalism, friendly, clear, and compliant. So it matches how your practice communicates. From there, your staff can use ChatGPT to draft responses. Then a human actually reviews them, and then they get sent. So why does this matter? Well, it's going to save you time and maintain professionalism. It's going to reduce your emotional or rushed responses, and it protects the patient experience and your brand consistency. Again, ChatGPT doesn't replace judgment. It helps your team respond faster and be more professional. Tip number 3 is using ChatGPT to help create HR documents, so you're not guessing or starting from scratch. Now, this is going to include like creating job descriptions, offer letters, employee handbooks, or even employment performance reviews or performance plans or improvement plans. Now, here's how to apply them correctly in your practice. You use ChatGPT to draft the document based on a specific role, the experience level you're hiring for, or from starting from scratch. Remember to give it as much information as you can. Be specific. Then, and this part's really important, you review everything with your legal or your HR professional before you send it. Now, why does this matter? Because it moves your practice from being informal HR to being structured and a professional employer. It also is going to protect you from issues that come up. And it removes the fear around documentation that a lot of practice owners have. ChatGPT doesn't replace legal review. It eliminates a blank page. Now, tip number 4 is to use ChatGPT for marketing ideas and content without burning out yourself or your team. Now, here's how practices use ChatGPT effectively. You can use ChatGPT to generate monthly content, social media captions, video outlines, and even patient education topics. So you're not starting from scratch each week. You can also use it to repurpose content. One video can turn into social media posts, emails, blog ideas without you having to rethink the same message over and over again. The goal here isn't perfection, it's consistency. ChatGPT helps you stay on brand and show up regularly without having to add more work to your plate. This is important because it removes design fatigue. It helps practices stay visible, and it supports growth without increasing the workload. Consistency builds trust, and ChatGPT makes consistency easier. Now, before we wrap up, it's important to mention what ChatGPT should not be used for. First, never add patient identification information. No names, no date of birth, no medical record numbers, ever. Second, ChatGPT should never be used for clinical decision-making. It's not diagnosing patients, choosing treatments, or replacing medical judgment. And third, it should never be used for a final legal document without a proper review. Anything related to HR, compliance, or contracts should always be reviewed by your legal professional or HR professional. When we use ChatGPT in these boundaries, it becomes a powerful operational tool, not a risk. And that's the key takeaway here. ChatGPT isn't about replacing people. It's about removing the busy work so your practice can run more efficiently and professionally. Now, if you want help setting this up the right way, choosing safe workflows, training your staff, and actually implementing AI into your practice, you can book a free call with me. The link's in the description. We'll walk through where ChatGPT makes sense for your practice and how to apply it without overwhelm or wasted time. Again, the link's in the description, and if you found this helpful, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.